Once vehicles entered extreme cold, mobility was often lost one system at a time. By the later years of the Second World War, Arctic conditions exposed the limits of standard military vehicles as snow, ice, and extreme temperatures restricted movement even without enemy contact. In these environments, mobility mattered more than firepower. In the United States, Arctic vehicle development focused on reliable movement and logistics, emphasizing transport, reconnaissance, and supply operations over armor. M29 Weasel. The M29 Weasel was a purpose-built tracked vehicle designed specifically for snow and Arctic terrain. Its wide tracks distributed weight effectively, allowing it to move across deep snow where wheeled vehicles failed. The Weasel was used for supply transport, reconnaissance, and casualty evacuation in cold regions, proving highly adaptable and reliable. M29C Weasel. The M29C was an amphibious development of the original Weasel. In addition to snow mobility, it could operate on water and broken ice, expanding its usefulness in Arctic environments with frozen rivers and coastal terrain. This variant reflected an effort to combine cold weather mobility with operational flexibility. T-15/T-24 Arctic Cargo Carriers, experimental. The T-15 and T-24 were experimental American vehicles developed to move supplies across snow-covered terrain. Although they did not see widespread service, these designs contributed valuable experience in Arctic vehicle engineering and influenced later cold weather mobility concepts. With American approaches established, we can now turn to British efforts to adapt existing vehicles for Arctic conditions. Universal Carrier Cold Weather Adaptation. The Universal Carrier was adapted for Arctic use through modifications such as wider tracks and cold weather equipment. These changes improved traction and reliability in snow-covered terrain, allowing the carrier to support infantry and supply movements in cold regions. British Snow Tractor Trials. Britain also conducted limited trials of specialized snow tractors intended for Arctic and subarctic operations. These experimental vehicles explored alternative track designs and mechanical layouts suitable for snow, but they were produced only in small numbers and saw little operational use. With British adaptations covered, we can now examine the large-scale and highly specialized Arctic vehicle programs of the Soviet Union. A-20/A-20M Aerosan. The A-20 series of aerosans were propeller-driven snow vehicles designed specifically for Arctic and winter operations. Built on lightweight ski-mounted frames, they were used for reconnaissance, patrol, and transport across frozen terrain where tracked vehicles were impractical. Their speed and range made them well-suited to operations deep behind snowbound front lines. NKL-16/NKL-26 Armed Aerosan. Armed variants of the aerosan concept were fitted with machine guns for patrol and security duties. These vehicles combined mobility with limited firepower, allowing Soviet forces to operate across frozen lakes, forests, and supply routes during winter campaigns. T-38 Amphibious Tank. The T-38 was designed to operate in marshes and river regions, but its amphibious capability also made it useful in winter conditions. It could cross frozen rivers and operate in snow-covered terrain where heavier tanks struggled. T-40 Amphibious Light Tank. The T-40 improved on the T-38 with better protection and mechanical reliability. Its ability to operate across ice, shallow water, and snow made it suitable for northern operations, particularly in reconnaissance and support roles. STZ-5 Tracked Tractor. The STZ-5 was widely used to tow artillery and recover equipment in snow and mud. Its tracked layout allowed it to function where wheeled vehicles became immobilized, making it an essential part of Soviet Arctic logistics. Comintern Heavy Tractor. The Comintern tractor supported recovery and transport operations in winter conditions, particularly earlier in the war. It provided a practical solution for moving heavy equipment across snow-covered terrain. Voroshilovets Heavy Tractor. The Voroshilovets was one of the most powerful Soviet tractors of the war. Its strong engine and robust construction made it especially effective for towing disabled vehicles and artillery in Arctic environments. With Soviet Arctic vehicle development established, we can now turn to how Germany adapted its vehicles after encountering severe winter conditions on the Eastern Front. Raupenschlepper Ost, RSO. The Raupenschlepper Ost was developed in response to widespread vehicle failures on the Eastern Front. Its fully tracked design reduced ground pressure and improved traction in snow and mud. Although slow, the RSO proved reliable in winter conditions and was used extensively for supply, towing, and support roles. Multi-tier half-tracked trucks. The multi-tier series combined standard truck bodies with tracked rear suspensions. These vehicles were an interim solution, intended to restore mobility where wheeled trucks failed in snow and frozen ground. While not purpose-built for Arctic warfare, they provided a practical response to winter mobility problems. WWII Kettenkrad. Originally designed as a light-tracked motorcycle, the Kettenkrad was well suited to snow-covered terrain. It was used to tow light loads, aircraft, and artillery in winter conditions, particularly where narrow tracks and compact size were advantageous. With German adaptations covered, we can now examine how Finland approached Arctic warfare as a matter of survival rather than adaptation. Sisu S21/S22 snow tractors. The Sisu S21 and S22 were purpose-built snow tractors designed for transport and logistics in deep snow. Their tracked layout and simple mechanical systems allowed them to operate reliably in extreme cold, making them essential for moving supplies and equipment across remote areas. Vickers Carden Lloyd light tank, winter adapted. Finland modified its Vickers Carden Lloyd tanks with wider tracks and cold weather adaptations to improve mobility in snow. These changes reflected a practical approach to maintaining armored capability under Arctic conditions rather than developing entirely new designs. BT-42 assault gun, winter-optimized US. The BT-42, built on a modified Soviet BT chassis, was adapted for Finnish winter operations. While limited in combat effectiveness, it demonstrated how existing vehicles were repurposed to function in snow and forested terrain. Motorized and towed supply sleds. Supply sleds, both motorized and towed, were a critical part of Finnish Arctic logistics. These systems allowed troops and equipment to move quietly and efficiently across snow, where wheeled vehicles were impractical. With Finland's Arctic-focused designs covered, we can now turn to Japan's experience with cold region operations in Manchuria. Japanese cold region vehicle use was shaped by winter operations in Manchuria rather than true Arctic warfare. Design emphasis remained on practicality and adaptation rather than specialized development. Type 95 Hago. The Type 95 Hago light tank was adapted for winter operations through measures such as cold weather lubricants, insulation, and operational adjustments. These modifications improved reliability in freezing conditions, but did not fundamentally change the vehicle's mobility in deep snow. Japanese tracked tractor. Japan relied on tracked tractors for transport and recovery duties in cold regions. These vehicles supported logistics and artillery movement across frozen ground where wheeled transport proved unreliable. Their use reflected a preference for multi-purpose machines rather than dedicated Arctic designs. With national approaches covered, we can now examine the shared Arctic vehicle concepts that appeared across multiple countries. Arctic conditions forced different nations towards similar solutions, even when their doctrines and industries differed. Extreme cold and deep snow narrowed the range of workable designs. Multinational Arctic vehicle concepts, propeller-driven snow vehicles. Several nations explored propeller-driven snow vehicles as a solution to deep snow and frozen terrain. Mounted on skis, these machines could travel quickly across flat, snow-covered surfaces where tracks and wheels struggled. While most widely used by the Soviet Union, the concept attracted attention elsewhere as a uniquely Arctic solution. Wide-track experimental vehicles. To reduce ground pressure in snow, multiple countries tested vehicles fitted with wider tracks. These experiments aimed to prevent vehicles from sinking into soft snow and improve traction on ice. Although not all designs reached service, the principle influenced later cold weather vehicle development. Sled-based transport systems. Motorized and towed sleds were used across Arctic regions regardless of nationality. Simple, reliable, and well-suited to snow, sled systems became an essential part of Arctic logistics, allowing supplies and equipment to move where conventional vehicles could not. Limitations and operational realities faced by Arctic vehicles during the war. Arctic vehicles faced severe limitations even when purpose-built. Extreme cold strained engines and transmissions, while snow and ice reduced speed and reliability. Recovery was often difficult or impossible in remote regions, and changing weather could quickly alter mobility. Despite these constraints, Arctic warfare vehicles showed how engineering adapted to environment rather than enemy. Their development influenced later cold weather vehicle design and post-war military engineering. You can continue with a related documentary using the selection on screen.